Hello and welcome back for some outdoor projects and a whole lot of yard work. Our mailbox has been broken for quite some time, so I went ahead and replaced that today and dressed it up to match with our front landscaping. I also needed to add in some rain guards to our gutters, and our front yard tree has been dying for the last couple of years. A lot of branches need to be trimmed off, so we're going to get most of that handled today and take you along for the whole process. We've had a lot of rainy days recently, but we're taking advantage of this bright sunny day and getting a few projects checked off of our to-do list. Starting with this mailbox, as you can see, the front flap has been completely broken off, and also the little red flag to signal to our mailman when there's mail in there that he needs to take with him to the post office. The post is still in really good condition though, so it's really just the top mailbox portion that needs to be replaced, and I figured I'd show you how to do that. So there's just 4 screws, 2 in each side, and they did need a specialty drill bit, but once you get those screws out, the mailbox just comes right off. And then there's this post here that had a lot of spiders on it, so that's what I was blowing off there. And then you just center your mailbox and line it up with the screw holes and screw it back into the post, and it's really that easy. And I just wanted to share, in case anyone is like me and tends to avoid projects like this because you've never done it before, so you think it's going to take a long time or be super involved. This is something that I've been putting off for the last 6 months, and it took me all of 5 minutes to completely replace this, so I'm kicking myself for not having done it sooner. And I just wanted to share that if you have something like that, this is your sign to get up, get it done. It never takes as long as you think that it will. But anyway, I just put that old mailbox in our pile that we've been accumulating for our yard sale because I figured there's somebody who's going to want to rehab it. And then I headed out to our local Lowe's to check out their clearance trolleys because I wanted to do a potted flower garden kind of right underneath of the mailbox. So I found that beautiful asparagus fern and then these really pretty daisies, but I wasn't sure if there was something wrong with them or if it was just like a case of needing to be deadheaded and watered. And I'm not too confident in my flower keeping skills. I don't necessarily have a green thumb, so I went ahead and passed those over. But then I found these red and yellow ones, and they were in really good conditions. Their leaves looked really healthy. I think they just needed to be deadheaded. I also saw a ton of these, I call them pop-in flower pots, but essentially it's just ready to be put right into a planter and you don't have to depot it, and those were under $10. There was a whole trolley of like very sunburned plants that I stayed away from, but I just wanted to show what was currently available because I personally feel like this is the best time to go to your local Lowe's or Home Depot to get any kind of flowers or veggie starters or gardening and landscaping supplies. Their clearance trolleys or shelves start to fill up so much this time of year, and in my experience it's just usually because they haven't been watered correctly or gotten enough sunlight. So I made a few selections, came home, gathered some things that I already had, like this ceramic planter, and then I also had this plastic planter, and I have duplicates of both of these in my front landscaping, so I thought it would be really nice to kind of mirror that, bringing that whole vibe down to the mailbox. And before I start doing that, I did want to go ahead and just water these flowers really, really well, because like I said, most of the time on the clearance carts, the flowers and greenery either just needs to be deadheaded or watered really well, and they've just kind of been neglected a little bit. So before I bring them down to the mailbox, I just wanted to make sure that I gave them a nice drink of water since it's so sunny today, and then I'll start bringing down all of my planters and decor and flowers and playing around with how I might want it to look down here. And I will say that I played around with this way more than what I showed on camera, which might already feel like I'm just doing too much here, doing the most, but I was back and forth to the front landscaping a million times, rearranging a bunch of flowers and taking it kind of seriously, like what colors and what textures and things I wanted down that close to the street and how I could balance that out with the front landscaping so that everything felt like it would flow together while still creating the aesthetic and the vibe that I was going for. So I'm just going to play around with this a ton here until I figured out something that I liked, that that I felt filled the space really well, but didn't like impede on the function of this. I had at one point considered planting like a full hydrangea bush or rose bush around my mailbox, and I see that a lot of my neighbors actually do that. They get those little mini trellises and will plant like roses and climbing flowers and things like that. And I do think that it is absolutely gorgeous, but every time I see it, I think, oh my gosh, I wonder how many bees or wasps or spiders are attracted to that, and then they end up in the mailbox, and when the mailman goes to deliver the mail, I wonder how many times he gets stung. So that's why I didn't here. Instead, I did just a potted flower garden, which turned out absolutely beautiful, and it flows really well with the potted flowers in our front landscaping. So I love what we've got going on so far, all of the texture and color. It's just so pretty, and having the potted plants kind of extends our front landscaping down this way. But I do feel like right here in front of this bunny, we've got kind of like a little empty spot going on. So I took a trip to the craft store and got some fairy garden supplies. I was super excited to find a little fairy Kinsley and also a little fairy Sawyer, and this mushroom house is so cute. But I also picked up some accessories here, some little animals and some flower stepping stones, and I figured I'd let them be creative and build a magical little fairy garden in this spot. And while they do that, I need to rearrange this front landscaping a little because I did borrow quite a bit from there and just played around with it. So there's a few things that I want to change out here and get this kind of reset. I also need to deadhead some of these plants that have got a lot of dried up and dying bits, and water everything because these babies are drooping. So this is about as green as my thumb gets. There are two things that I know to do when taking care of flowers, and that is deadheading and watering. And I typically water the flowers in the morning, although lately we have had so much rain that I don't need to water them. And I'm starting to fear that maybe they're being overwatered and that's why they're drooping like this. But if you are someone who is really good at gardening, keeping live plants alive, or you've just figured out like the secret sauce for how to do it, please share that with me in the comment section, because I actually love this potted flower garden in the front landscaping. I just feel so inspired by it and happy with it every single time that I see it. And I'm starting to kind of panic a little bit that I am not taking care of these plants properly and they're not going to last, but I really want them to. And I know I am not someone who has a green thumb, so I don't know why I do this to myself. I feel like every spring, summertime, I make some kind of attempt with live flowers in my landscaping, in the backyard, all of that. I think it's because I really want it to become something that I'm good at, and I want it to become a hobby, but I just cannot for the life of me figure out how to keep these plants living their best life. I feel like they droop very often, the blooms get sunburned a lot and end up like becoming crispy by the afternoon, and I'm not sure why. Now, I do know that this front area gets a lot of direct sunlight, especially in the summertime. So from about 11 a.m. until sundown, the sun is going to shine directly on this area. But when I was buying the flowers and the plants, I made sure to check their hang tags, and they all say direct sunlight for at least 6+ hours a day. They have watering instructions that I've been following. None of them said that they had to be repotted or had any kind of specific recommendations like for soil or anything like that. But still, I find that they're drooping a lot. And I think I mentioned this just a minute ago, but I am also worried that maybe they're getting overwatered, but I don't really know how to figure that out. Usually the rainy season is like done by the first week of May, but I think that seasons are slowly shifting because we are overcast, rainy, and thunderstorms 5 to 6 days of the week over here still, and we're into the middle of June. It is not typically like this. So I don't know what's going on, but anyway, such a long-winded, rambly way for me to say, if you have any advice for how I can keep my garden thriving, please let me know. I am all ears. Something else that I've been needing to fix for quite a while is this drain spout. It doesn't currently have like any way to drain away from the flower beds, and when it rains really, really heavily, these get flooded with like inches of water, and I know that is really bad for like the foundation of your home and the concrete and stuff like that. So I got this. It, I think, is just kind of like accordion style. Will be able to come out and I'll be able to position it the way that I need to. And I think this portion here just kind of connects to the drain is what it looks like. So hopefully it's as easy as it looks and I can just kind of pop this on and position it the way that I need to. So this did not just pop right on like I thought that it was going to. There was this rectangular portion on the top that I thought was supposed to secure it onto the rain gutter, but it actually didn't fit onto our gutter. So I had to remove it completely, which then made this like not as secure as it could be. You can see that it keeps slipping there because there's nothing really like holding it on tight. It also wasn't as long as I thought it would be, although it was long enough to redirect that rain down the driveway. So I guess it did technically work for what it was supposed to do. Like I said, we are still getting heavy rain and thunderstorms 5 to 6 days a week, so it has rained a lot since I filmed this video, and we have not had any more flooding in that front flower bed. Everything is being redirected and draining down the driveway the way that I wanted it to, but it just doesn't feel secure to me, so it doesn't feel like it's going to be a long-term solution. So if you know, did I just buy the wrong product, or is there something else that I should have done here? Please let me know, because I have had a lot of intrusive thoughts and anxiety about the rain in this flower bed for some reason. It's like my mind has hyper focused on it, and I am just so worried that there's like this secret damage being done to the foundation of our house that I just haven't been able to identify, or it hasn't made its way to the surface yet, but that like one day we're gonna come home and our house is just like sunk down into the earth or the soil there because of too much rain and water exposure. I don't know. That's just the way that my brain works sometimes. But point being that I want to figure out a long-term solution for that to avoid that flower bed flooding and not just a short-term band-aid fix, and I feel like that's not secure enough, so it's just a short-term band-aid fix right now. But anyway, once I had gotten that done, then I clearly have moved on to weeding in our front flower bed, and this always is like super easy and quick ever since I think it's been 2 or 3 years ago that we kind of redid our front landscaping, my husband and I. We took out all of our mulch that was in here previously. We had like wood mulch, and then dug through some rocks that had been laid in, and we put down a new weed barrier and replaced everything with rubber mulch, and I love it. So now weeds really only grow on that perimeter where the perimeter of the barrier is, and it makes it really easy to weed through it. And also with this rubber mulch, we don't have near as many bugs and gnats as we used to have. It was definitely worth the time, money, and investment into it, but I do have to have like one good weeding session at the top of every spring or summer season. This is looking so much nicer. I love having those flower beds cleaned up a bit and all of the weeding done, at least in this front portion. And I love the flower pots. I know I keep saying it, but I just think that it is so pretty. I have more of like an even distribution of the pink and purple flowers mixed in with the yellow ones. Up close, this looks perfect, but from far away, looks a little crooked on this side. Do you guys see that too? Hopefully that evened it out some. But anyway, I feel like this is probably how I'm going to leave it for the rest of this season. I think I'm really happy with this setup here. I love all of the potted flowers in the landscaping. And down here with the mailbox, I just think this is such a cute look. And then here is a closer look at the girls' fairy garden. They did such a good job with this. I think it's so cute and whimsical, and it just feels very magical. And then this is the view like when you're walking up on it, so you can tell that there's something cute and magical over here, and then you get up close and it's all these little fairies. Oh my gosh, it's just so stinking cute. I cannot wait for the kids in the neighborhood to start noticing that it's there. They have definitely noticed, and they all love it so much. The girls did such a good job. But here we are the next day, and Derek and I are out here for like 4 or 5 hours this day to trim the front yard tree. As you can see, we were just having to cut down a lot of branches. Derek's using our wild badger, like it's a 4-in-1 lawn care type of tool, and this is the pole saw, and it works really well for this. He does it because I'm afraid of heights, so I'm so thankful for that. But I wanted to show you guys up close that these branches are dead. We are not trimming a healthy tree. This was not unnecessary. They were basically like falling apart and disintegrating within my hands, which we have been able to see, I would say, over the last 2 to 3 years especially. I've noticed that each spring there are less and less leaves growing back on the tree, and I was noticing more and more dead branches. So I finally this year, it felt like 50% of the tree had no leaves on it. So that's why we decided to do this, and I got Derek out here and I was like, hey, we just need to like trim this up really good and see if we can cut out this damage so that the tree can redirect its energy to the healthy bits. But then I was not expecting that as they were going to fall, they were going to look like that. It's just one of those things. It's such a tall, like really big tree that you don't see it up close until you are up close. And now I'm starting to worry and panic. So if you know what could be causing this, or is this a really serious issue, please let me know, because I am having so much anxiety now. We did find a few like burr holes too. I'll show you those here towards the end of the video, like really up close so that you can see it, but we didn't see any bugs. So initially I was thinking like maybe this was a byproduct of like storm damage a few years ago. We had really bad storms that resulted in some tornadoes. They didn't specifically come through our neighborhood, but there was just a lot of damage to a lot of landscape and trees and houses in our area. And so I just had it in my naive mind that maybe it was that. And then as these started coming down, I started freaking out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is it like beetles, bugs, termites? Like, what is going on here? Is this something that like us doing this is going to fix it, or should we hire a professional? Do we need to just have the tree evaluated, or should we just like go ahead and cut it out of the front yard right away? Because Derek and I are both estranged from both of our sets of parents, and we just don't have a big support system. We don't have a lot of family around us. We don't have anyone to teach us firsthand about these things. So as homeowners, we've really had to learn everything the hard way, usually through catastrophic events or really big mistakes. And I don't always mind that, but I would mind it here. I do not want to learn this lesson by this tree falling through my entire house. So if you know about this, if you can identify something that maybe I'm missing, or just have any loving advice to give us for what we should do here, we trimmed all of the dead branches that we could reach off of the tree, and I'm wondering, is that enough, or is there a bigger problem here, and should we start saving and budgeting and get the ball rolling on having this tree completely removed from our property? I'll show you the burr holes here in a second, and then you can let me know. We've got mostly everything piled up here next to the road, and this whole bin full, and I just wanted to show you guys again why we are doing this. This is a really good representation. This stick here, it's just like completely torn up and splintered, and then you can also see there are holes, and like every thick branch like this, there's holes like this. I'm trying to get you guys a closer look. Maybe if I zoom in you can see them even better. I'm sure it's from some kind of bug, maybe a beetle or a termite. I'm not completely sure. We haven't seen any bugs yet, but oh, well what is that? That's the first bug we've seen, so I wonder if that's the bug. If you know what these could be from, let me know. Is this like a really serious issue that we should get checked out by a professional, or is this gonna take care of it? We have these last few twigs that Derek's cleaning up, and there are a few more branches that need to be cut down, but we're tired for today, so we're gonna call it a day. You can kind of see them up there, especially over on this side. We'll probably get to that next weekend. But otherwise, I would say that this was a very successful 2 days of yard work. We got a lot done out here, made a whole ton of progress, and especially that front landscaping is looking really good now. I have some plans for like the front portion of the landscaping and filling out those kinds of flower beds, but until we did this, nothing would grow there. So hopefully I'll be able to get to that within the next couple of weeks, but for now I'm just exhausted. So we're gonna finish cleaning this up and then go inside and eat some dinner. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today while I did all of this. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you agree that we did a ton, we worked hard, and it was a lot of fun getting it done. But anyway, hopefully I see you all in the next one. Bye.